This is just beyond me right now. Okay, we're calling the meeting to order a little bit late, whatever the time is.
6:40.
We have a roll call. Okay,
Sandy Slavin.
Molly says yes too.
Jim Gibberti and Pete Dunlop is on the phone with me. Okay.
Molly.
And we have also in attendance tonight, Guy Campina and Russ Kleekamp. I think he.
And I see Brian.
Who?
Brian.
Is from GAP Engineering, I believe, and
Okay.
he's going to present the 40B project. So I'm assuming that's him.
Okay. Okay, the
Can you
only
hear me
thing
now, Guy?
Yes, is that you, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you're on the phone only. Okay. Yes,
Yep, okay.
I can hear you.
All right. Okay. Citizens participation. Do we have anybody out there? I guess not.
Okay.
Okay, we have minutes to be approved. May 14th.
May 14th minutes were not in the folder.
I didn't see June either.
June 4th minutes were not reviewed by me and they're not in the folder.
There's no minutes in the folder.
Okay, we will put them off till our next meeting. I had them online, so I've gone over them, but we'll defer these to the next meeting. And we don't have Patrick, who I was hoping to have regarding the capacities in our allocation policy. So that will have to get deferred until we see him, get him on board. The next item we have is Oak Street, 24 Oak Street.
24 Oak Street. Now that, I don't know what part of town that's in. Hey, knock it off.
It's a new street.
It's a new street. So what they did is they subdivided the lot at 24 Oak Street and they're putting a house behind it. We're adding one house. They've got all the manholes needed to get this done. I see no issues with it. The plans are pretty straightforward. And I think that we should move ahead and allow this to happen. This came up a year ago, and then I guess there was some issues, and it's back at us again.
Okay.
But how many laterals are there?
One lateral. The one lateral going to service both houses. The first lateral will have a manhole, which will service both houses. And then there's another manhole on the street that's going to go to the actual house. So there's a house to a manhole to a manhole, and the house to a manhole. So they'll have independent lines. So what will happen if one clogs, it doesn't affect both pieces of property.
Sounds reasonable.
And they're putting in a roadway, and that roadway meets, I don't know if they've been to conservation, whatever, they've been to planning, and it meets all the requirements. So I don't know if they need conservation. I'm not so sure anymore on that, but yeah, so.
Well, if they're 200, if they're 100, if they're in a flood zone, which they're not because they're up on a hill,
Up on a hill,
and if they're 100 feet from the water, wetlands,
I think
then
they're
maybe-
beyond that.
I don't think they need conservation, but that's an awful steep hill for the drive.
Hey, I don't drive it. It's not going to affect the sewer. It's been through planning. Obviously, they're happy with the drainage. There's quite a bit of drainage, and everything's there that it needs. And yeah, it is quite steep hill. I wouldn't want to drive in the winter, but nonetheless.
I don't have to plow it, so.
Me neither. Me neither. And everything is there as far as road drainage and all the infiltrators for the road drainage. They've met all that criteria, which really, to be frank, I'm not concerned about. It's just that he needs to connect it to sewer. It's in a sewer area, and he's done the requirements that we have for connecting two houses to sewer, but I still need the approval of the sewer commissioners to move it forward.
Do I have a motion?
Not yet.
Pardon me?
Not yet.
Okay,
Jimmy, what was Guy's recommendation?
to move ahead.
Okay,
They've done everything that
all
they,
right. I make a motion that we move ahead.
Okay, Peter has made a motion to move ahead on this.
Do we have the planning board approval?
It was approved last year. They had to actually go to planning board to subdivide it. It was one lot at one time. So planning board had to subdivide it and approve the project. And that's been done, I believe, last year or the year before.
Do we have a capacity for one more hookup
We do, for that house, absolutely. You're talking 300 gallons.
a day? That's it?
Well, yes, if it's used for full. A single-family home with 3-bedroom is 330 gallons per day.
Alan, I hear your phone.
As we age, we don't use a 330. Probably use less than that, but we still go by the bedrooms, and it's all designed to Title V, which is greater than sewer anyways. So we put this buffer in there too. I should say buffer in there also.
All right, I'm done with questions. I heard a motion from Peter.
Correct.
I will second it.
Second by Sandy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sandy, aye. Jim, aye. Peter, aye. Okay, let's get that out of the way. And now we got 2416 Cranberry Highway, which is that
Gas station.
gas station
Yes.
convenience store, right?
Yes, it came back to us just for the gas station, nothing to do with the other 2 lots. So that's what we asked for, and that's what they did.
Right. This is the one that was before us a couple of weeks ago,
Yes, sir. That's the one before us.
where it
And
had 3 pieces.
all 3 lots. They're only asking now for lot 1.
Right.
And Guy, the sewer use you have now is what existed there at the previous gas station?
I would say no, it's a little more. To be frank with you, the other gas station was just gas and restrooms. This is going to be gas restrooms. It's still retail, and you got a store there, so you may have a few more. It's not going to be significantly more because it depends on how many people use the washroom, right? It's just your employees. So I don't see any significant use of that bathroom. I don't see any significant increase of sewer. I think he put the numbers in there. Let me just look at the plans.
He's got an estimated flow of 2,000 gallons per day.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because you got to go by for Title V by square foot of a retail building.
Gas station convenience store.
200 gallons per day. That's
Make
max.
a motion we accept the lot 1 hookup.
Excuse me, what did you say, Sandy? I missed that.
I make a motion we
Okay.
accept the lot 1 hookup.
Hey, Peter, the motion has been made by Sandy to accept the lot 1 hookup.
Okay, did I hear guys say 2,000?
Yeah.
So it's equivalent to a 2-bedroom house
Yes,
or 1 EDU?
Well, the whole building's going to be an EDU. Yes, it's going to be 1 EDU for that building.
that's what.
Okay. I'll second that.
Second by Peter. All in favor?
Aye.
Sandy, aye.
Aye.
Peter, aye. Jim, aye. Okay, that's 3 zippy. Okay, Guy, you're on center stage.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple little things. I want to talk about C Street for a minute. I'm looking for the board's advice. Where do we have a meeting for the residents? COVID and social distancing. First of all, I think I should send something out and get an RSVP to get a concept of how many people. But we got to have a meeting on. We're moving forward. We're getting ready to draw the plans, put it out to bid, and so we have to have a meeting with the neighbors. And I don't know where to have it. So I was hoping that we could brainstorm and figure out the best place to have it before I get the notices out.
How about Patriot Stadium?
And that would work.
No, Jimmy, you're not far off. Why can't we have it outside someplace?
We're going to have to go outside. Peter, you're absolutely right. We're going to have to go outside because we got to prepare for the neighborhood. They may not all come, but we got to be prepared for that.
Why
How about
can't
the
we?
football field?
Why can't we use Zoom?
Use what?
Oh,
Zoom to have every resident tie into Zoom, that would
I
be a
don't think so.
nightmare.
I don't think so.
I don't know. If you think, I mean, we can talk to Steve and give us our accounts, whatever, but I would suggest they're going to want to question the engineers. They're going to want to question us. And with Zoom, I don't know how we control it. We can say one at a time.
No, the host
Okay, wait.
controls it.
Well, one second.
Sorry, Russ can't
Russ,
stop.
Sandy, hold a sec. Russ has got a question.
Yes.
What about
Comment.
What about Bessie Park? Isn't that kind of right down the street from the area?
Oh, it is. It's close to them.
Set up some chairs outside, space them every 6 feet, and away we
Yeah,
got.
just take a folding table and put it outside town hall.
Well, no, I don't know. That's a pretty good idea, Russ.
Let me ask about Bessie Park only because they have the ability to put a PA system. But then the town hall's right too. It's right there.
Bessie Park does not have the parking, and you have to connect with Verilife.
Parking lot of WCTV.
That's not big enough, I don't think.
That's not
There's-
Bessie.
Parking lot?
No, wouldn't be big enough.
So the parking lot at the town hall would probably be the best option as far as parking and accommodating chairs.
Yeah.
Who owns that gravel lot that's across from Bessie Park? There's a big open gravel parking area.
South Coast Health owns that property, and they closed it off because they don't want Verilife parking there.
I wonder if they'd give a one-time exception for just a thought.
And what do we do for sound system
I don't know. I guess
there?
I would think we'd have to have something because we're going to spread everybody out. I forget the residents, like 100 and something residents. I'm sure not all are going to come, for sure. But if we get 50 people, 100 people, we got to spread right out. And so communicating would have to have some type of sound system so they can hear what we're saying. And it would be nice to have a sound system they can talk into so we can hear their questions. Just a suggestion. I don't know how to do it, but I would suggest a sound system.
What about the football field? They've already got the
I
sound
like
system.
that too.
I mean, the sound system's already there.
Well, the baseball park.
There's parking available without any interference with anything.
And they can use the bleachers.
Yeah, you got
Yep.
the bleachers. Spread
Okay.
that out.
Okay.
I think you need to check with the school.
Well, let me talk with Dave, the town, the school department. Let's talk to everybody you need to talk to and see the availability, the probability, that type of thing. I'll also do things with Bessie Park. I'll do the same thing for the town hall. So we'll have options. If something fails, we have other options.
Okay.
Who do we have to get clearance from to do this?
Everybody that's involved.
Everybody like Bessie Park's owned by the town, so I'd probably have to ask the commissioners to have a meeting there. I'm sorry, the selectmen. Town hall's the same way. Traffic, I got to figure out what's going on. So I'd probably go to Derek and tell him I want to have something here. What do I do? I'd talk to Dave Menard, who's in charge of all this stuff and upkeep of it all. Make sure we can do it. I'd talk to Steve about borrowing sound equipment, the whole 9 yards. So, and I'd also want him to video it so it could be played again for those that don't make it. Maybe even go live. I'm not so sure, but I would talk to all the people involved, and then I would bring it back to the board, and then we can make a decision.
Sounds fair.
Okay. All right. Comprehensive wastewater. Are we all set with that? I think I got some direction. Anybody want to add anything before I move on?
Oh, that's fine, I think.
Okay. So C Street's getting ready to happen, and I want to do it. Keep in mind, C Street's got to be done at low tide only.
Right.
So we're going to look at low tides. We got to include it into the bid because it's critical. And we can only do it, and we want to get the best low tide. So it's probably throughout the summer and into early fall, depending on tides, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll keep you updated on that. Okay. Comprehensive wastewater management plan. We had a contract with Beta that expired, but in anything we do, whether it's going to be the groundwater discharge, going to the canal. Did Peter have a question?
No.
Okay.
No.
Going to the canal, we have to complete our modified comprehensive wastewater management plan, which includes discontinuing contract 3, which we've done verbally, but we haven't done officially with the DEP. I think it was Alan and I went to the DEP. We mentioned it, talked about it. They had no issues with it, but we got to do it officially, and then modify it to what areas of town we'd like to sewer, and in an orderly fashion, whether 1 through 20. So they've got to figure this out, look at all the areas we'd like to sewer, set up a plan, a 20-year comprehensive plan, and then as we do the groundwater discharge, moving the outfall, or anything else, we have a definitive plan that we can use to move forward for the next 20 years and sewer accordingly, probably as money provided, but yes, sewer accordingly. So that has to be done, and we got to pick that up. So I called Bader and said, dig up the old contract. We know it expired. There was still money on it. I want to revive it. Once I get that, I'll bring it to the board and we can revive it. But I wanted to bring it up, chance for question and answers and et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to bring it up sooner than later.
Okay, we want to go. And you want to do the C Street meeting on this? We're having trouble enough with 4 people.
Well, I just had a garden club meeting with 50 and we had no problem. Of course, we're women.
I'm not touching that one. Not a prayer. Not a prayer. Okay, Guy's back and he's on mute.
Did any of you all get disconnected?
Yes,
Okay.
we all did.
Well, before I went back on, I thought I'd call Steve to make sure it's okay, but it's okay, good. All right, we're good. So that, I think, do we need anything else on the comprehensive wastewater management plan? I think we need to move that forward.
Sandy, any comments? Peter?
What was that?
On the wastewater, the comprehensive wastewater plan, we need to move that forward.
So we need the meeting.
That the C Street is one meeting. The comprehensive wastewater plan is for the DEP.
Yes, a 20-year plan for sewering. Specific, we're coming up to capacity, so we got to have it anyways. And we're going to have to eventually have a plan for what we're going to do anyway. So we might as well tie these together before it becomes necessity, if you will. And then it's going to be rush, rush, rush. So I want to make sure we do this timely. And we're talking about a groundwater discharge. They're going to want to know what's your plan comprehensively. So, what are you actually going to sewer? We got to offset the nitrogen. What areas you're going to do? So we want to do the plan. Yeah. So that's, Mr. Chairman, that's what the plan is for.
Right. Okay. Peter, did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. Sandy?
Who's going to do this?
Well, we already have a contract with Beta that expired. I'm going to review their contract.
Thank you. So we're going to have to put up a new contract?
I don't know. I don't know the legals. I'll ask Mr. Bowen, but really, like, we had a contract. It went beyond the year. So can I just redo dates? Or do I have to do the whole contract? I'm not so sure. I would suggest we just redo dates, but I'm not a lawyer, so I will find out.
Okay. So you'll report back to us on that once.
I will. I will
Okay.
report back on that.
Good enough.
And that's all I had for my report, things that were, I can tell you what we may permit again. We're averaging, last month, we're 1 part per million of nitrogen, which was, it's incredible. We're down to less than 0.1 of phosphates. It's a scramble, it's a runaround, but we're doing it. We're blessed, we haven't had any rain, so we're really blessed there. We're doing about 0.9 MGD. So that's exciting for the last month. But again, we're still, before that, we're still 1.2, 1.1. We're not out of the woods yet. It's been very dry, so that's a help to us. And so we got little issues. We got some leaking air relief valves throughout town, Main Street. So we're trying to solve those, et cetera, et cetera. But overall, we're not in bad shape for the shape we're in.
Guy, what happened on Wee Wee Antic?
Wee Wee Antic, well, it's just a beautiful area. Wee Wee Antic. So there is a pump station called Hathaway Pump Station in Wee Wee Antic. What happened was we have a surge protector because that station has a very finicky deal with electricity and surges. It shuts it down. We put a surge protector with a battery backup. The surge protector failed. The battery backup ran out of power to maintain the power to the control panel and the alarm system. So without those two, the flow keeps coming. It doesn't stop. And so it came out of the manhole down at the end of First Avenue. So we're talking to our consultants and the engineers and the electricians is how do we isolate the control panel? The real issue is that that whole system takes surges of electricity, which we blew pumps, et cetera, et cetera. So the best scenario at the time was to put a surge protector. We protect the panel and the pumps, the surge protector goes, so there's a problem. So I got to find out, A, to be redundant. We put another surge protector that backs up that surge protector, and then a battery backup. The battery, I don't really know. I'm looking into that. Or can we isolate power so that we can power the alarm system independently of everything, so that if something happens, the alarms pick it up. We got to figure that out because if the panel goes down, it doesn't tell the alarm anything. So can we do that independently? So we're looking into that. So we're looking at
how much overflow at the manhole did we have?
Sorry?
How much overflow did we have? Someone called me and told me it reached the river.
It did not reach the river. I don't know who told you that. It ended up in the owner of 26 First Ave. It was in his driveway. I did not see it. We did not see it anyplace. We walked around it, and we did not see any entrance into the river.
Thank you.
Okay,
Everything's been disinfected, cleaned up, and we're back online, and we just want to make some long-term solutions. Again, EPA was notified, DEP was notified, and Marine Fisheries was notified.
Thank you.
okay, capital projects to Bourne.
Mr. Chairman, again, the IMA states that there's a 17.9% commitment from Bourne for any type of capital improvements to the plant and to Dick's Pond and to Depot Street and to Cohasset Narrows and all the lines connecting, which would be the lines coming to Cohasset Narrows and the force main coming down Red Brick Road through Indian Mound Beach, 6 and 28, and then the force main, it dumps into the force main to the plant. Anytime we do a capital improvement in those areas, Bourne is responsible for 17.9%.
But don't we have to tell them?
I'm sorry?
We have to tell them?
Yes. That being said, we usually put it in our budget. That being said, we have to, I don't know how much they know about the present project we're moving forward with. I'm suggesting, and I think I had a conversation with you, Mr. Chairman, and you suggested that we get a letter off to Bourne, tell them everything that we're doing, so they can have a chance to ask questions and look at their liability, because they're looking at $500,000, and I don't know what they have for cash flow. So I think you're absolutely right. The board should authorize us to get a letter out to Bourne, tell them what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the timeline to the best of our ability, and that 17% by IMA is their responsibility. So I think that, and you're right, Mr. Chairman, I think that'd be good business.
Hey, can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Say, you want a motion to write the letter?
Just to notify Bourne of what's happening on their potential commitment.
So moved to write the letter.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Sandy, aye. 3-0. Now we've got this cutie that came in from left field. 40B project.
It's a project down off of Red Brook Road, presented to us by Gap Engineering. I think Brian's on the phone. I would let Brian explain it, and then we can ask questions and take it on advisement and go from there.
Holly.
Okay, thanks. This is Brian at GAF Engineering. And also part of the meeting is Scott Blagden. He's the landowner representative. We've been working on this project for a little while, and I know we did speak with a guy before the shutdown on this. So now we're just getting this back up to speed to try to get into the home stretch on it. It's a comprehensive 40B project. Its address with the town is Cranberry Highway, but its frontage and access would actually be off of Red Brook Road. If you're on Cranberry Highway, this is kind of the property out behind Barnacle Bill's restaurant, and it's adjacent to Garden Homes, the Garden Homes Park. So what the proposal is now is 20 units. It will be a comprehensive permit filed with the Zoning Board of Appeals for deed restricted properties. We're looking at what we're showing on this plan is a total of 60 bedrooms. Once we get into the finish line of this project, we expect that to be reduced. The thought on this is that given the layout and the yards and the sizes of the property, this would be more suited to retired individuals or young couples starting out. We don't expect a lot of children, so it's going to be geared more towards that. Scott's working with the layout and the architect laying out the units, try to get those designed. But that's the current thoughts that he has with the marketing he's done with projects in Plymouth going on currently. There seems to be a good market for that, but it's not going to be an age-restricted project in any way. It's just that the units are going to kind of be geared for that use. So, you know, we're showing 60 bedrooms, but we don't anticipate that the actual finished project's going to be there. But you know, we're looking for that flexibility. So, as you can see, we've done a lot of work on this project. We have a project team put together. Attorney Mark Bobrowski, work at LDS Consulting. We're working with on the pro forma. We've done the existing conditions plan. I've met with Mass Highway because they put a utility pole right in the center of our sewer easement as it gets to Cranberry Highway as part of the improvements they're doing there. And they said, good luck trying to get that moved, but we're going to have to work around that.
Use a chainsaw.
I'm sorry?
Use a chainsaw.
Yeah, maybe in the next hurricane. That's a good idea. So that's where we're at. In a brief nutshell, it's a 40B comprehensive permit. We're in the final stages of preparing this. You know, with the shutdown, it's affected everything we're doing. So that's where we're at, and if we can respond to any questions.
Is this going to be a project that's going to be done start to finish, or are you going to be phasing it?
Well, we don't have a developer on board yet, and I was talking with Scott about that earlier today. You know, 40Bs don't happen overnight. We have a permitting process to get through with the Zoning Board of Appeals. So we don't think, even optimistically, this would be shovels in the ground on this project for a year anyway.
Question?
Go ahead, Peter. Peter's got a question.
What does 40B and EPA, if we don't have the capacity to dump the sewage, and that's EPA regulations, how does 40B affect that?
Guy, you have an answer for that?
Oh, well, we just got through a discussion on 40B, the other project. And again, the courts and health, I guess it's courts and building, and according to DEP, that they can compel you to build it anyways, compel you to accommodate it anyways.
Well, how does that work as far as EPA not letting us put any more in the Agawam River?
Well, no, so we still are required.
Are we in the middle? Are we the one in violation?
That's right. We're still required to maintain our permit. And there's only so many pounds per day of nitrogen and phosphate and BOD that we can put to the river a day. That's a finite number. There's no deviation. Our responsibility is the added flow going to impact the ability of the plant to process the product, maintain it within the walls of all our tankage, and get through. Now, to answer your question, we are pretty close. We're at 78% of 80% of our capacity. That's a big number. It's a big number, and it's kind of scary. As you know, I had mentioned we should maybe consider a moratorium on all connections to the town of Wareham other than what we've done until we really vet this through to make sure we can handle. I have a hard time committing to something.
Let me cut to the chase.
What's the chase? What do you want to know?
Can we say no to this project because we can't dump any more in the Agawam River?
No. I answered the question. I said DEP says no. The courts will make you do it. Yeah, the courts have the right to make you do it.
The answer was no, we can't stop it.
We can't stop it.
The courts will make us do it.
So are we in violation then with the EPA? Are we in the middle?
No matter what happens, we have to maintain our permit. So if we tell the DEP...
Well, you can't do both.
Okay, well, I don't know what the answer is. I'd be frank with you. For the last 40B, I
Well, I
did...
think we better find out the answer before we answer this gentleman as to whether or not we can accommodate him.
Well, I think, first of all, we shouldn't make a decision this evening. I think we need to look at what he's doing and what the timeline is. I have no concept of time. It's in a year. It may be longer. They talk about lowering it. Let's get some finite answers. Let him go through the process, and we go from there. I don't know if we should commit today. That's my opinion. The board doesn't take an advisement. We can go through it and make a decision. I can follow up again like I did the last time and talk to the DEP, who said at the time with the other 40B, I think it's Woodland Cove, that the courts can compel, I guess it's called, not the family court, it's called a housing court, can compel us to tie them in. They can compel it, court order to tie them in. So we'd have to negotiate with the developer, and that's all I was told. I know that other communities fought it for years and lost. That's the best advice I can give you. We can talk directly to our attorney. We can talk directly to the housing. We can talk directly to DEP on this particular project. But those are the answers, Peter, from the last project. I'm assuming they're going to be pretty much the same. I could be wrong.
Okay, so bottom line where we're at right at the moment is that they have got a proposal in front of us. They're out probably at least a year. And your recommendation at this point is let them go through the process. I don't disagree with that, and see what happens. Sandy, you're coming up just a second.
Let them go through with the process, but
wait a second,
tell them
Peter.
exactly
Peter,
what we're up against.
Peter, wait a minute.
You
Peter,
know,
hold a second.
don't blow your money.
Okay, go ahead, Sandy.
If the EPA says no
Peter,
to us, we
Peter,
obviously
hold
have
it,
to say no to them.
Peter, hold it. Go ahead,
They have to
Sandy.
do an impact study anyways.
Sandy,
The letter we have in our packet talked about a preliminary sewer connection plan. I've seen nothing. Why didn't we get it? Why wasn't it included in our documents?
Well, the plan was, it was pretty basic. It had the U shape where the buildings were.
I know, but
I'll get you a copy of it. I told her to put it online in your packet online. I'll get you a copy, a hard copy. It's pretty big. I will shrink it down and give you a copy. But I would suggest, Sandy, that it's at the plant, the big plan. It's more legible to you. Stop by and you can look at it. We'll make a small copy and go from there. I'll also actually ask Brian to send us an electronic copy, and I'll send it to you electronically so you can blow it up on your computer screen and get a better visual of what's really happening.
I mean, I have all the plans on the big sheet. This.
Yes.
No one needs to mute.
I don't know.
You know, it was hard to discuss this and understand it when I've seen nothing. You're seeing it.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Sandy, you're going in and out.
Well, I think when Peter says something, it comes up to you, which takes her out.
And I can't continue talking over the noise that I'm hearing. Okay, it's behind Barnacle Bills. Is it where the wagon wheel used to be?
No, the other side. If you look beyond Barnacle Bills, there's a cutout, and the lady was selling masks there. That is where the easement for the sewer is. And if you look behind that, because why he says behind Barnacle Bills, because the lot is what's the right word? It's got a funny shape. It doesn't go front to back to Red Brook. It goes on an angle. So if you look at the cutout on next to Monica Mills, there's a cutout next to it. You look in there, you'll see all the tree line. That's where it's going.
Okay. So behind the Handy property that used to be on the high. Okay. So I look forward to the documentation, but I want happy with being forced to.
Okay.
Because
Sorry.
I want more information. I want to see what we have a capacity and what this will do if we are forced to accept it. What does this do since we're close to our 80?
I agree. Sandy, one of the things we have to do is we'll have to ask for a comprehensive wastewater management, I'm sorry, a impact study. They're going to be responsible to make sure that the system can take it, which would be the lines going down 6 and 28. At the same time, they're going to have to figure out the capacity. We'll revisit the capacity, and then we'll know what that, we'll submit a report. That'll go to them.
And that report is done by the developer.
We're asking the developer, yes, we're asking the developer to do it.
So this is on our part.
If you remember on Woodland Cove, the developer paid the engineer to do that for them, and they presented the package to us. At that time, GHD said that they were concerned about the plant due to the overflows we're having from hot, wet weather, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll ask them, whoever they hire will be the same type of analysis as far as the impact study goes.
Brian, I saw this and I contacted Ken Buckland. He knew nothing about this project. Has it not, and you think it didn't come before planning yet. So is anybody in town, sewer commissioners, has seen any documents on this project?
I'm not getting entirely what you're saying. You're breaking up, Sandy. No, this has not been formally submitted. It's a comprehensive permit, so it only goes to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Scott did go in and have conversations with people in the town a year or so ago about this project conceptually, but no formal plans have been submitted, no.
And it's maybe because it's a year old, people forgot.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I didn't catch that either. Sandy?
Thinking maybe because it's a year old, people forgot that it had been mentioned.
No, true.
Yeah, it was a while ago. We've been working on it. Then we had the shutdown. Otherwise, we would have been before you a couple months ago. But yeah, Scott has spoken with several individuals in town, again, preliminarily regarding this project.
Russ?
Mr. Chairman, through you, question for Guy. This is the location off of Red Brook Road, if you can refresh my memory?
It's off of Red Brook Road, and the project goes all the way to Cranberry Highway. There's a sewer or utility easement to Cranberry Highway. So it'll tap into, there's a lateral there actually. It'll tap into the sewer system at Cranberry Highway down 6 and 28 to the plant.
So it's a similar location to where the Woodland Cove, it goes time.
Absolutely.
So when we did the Woodland Cove assessment, we looked at all the pipes and pump stations in detail. And the pipes and pump stations had suitable capacity. Again, the concern comes down because we've seen things at the plant that tell us it's at capacity, being the overflows and also the permit violations. Where we get into a concerning area, and any consulting firm, or I would think, I'm going to give you a what if scenario. So again, if we come and say, or whether it's GHD or whoever looks at this, says, yep, you have capacity, the plant's a little iffy, you had a couple little oopsies there, but yeah, we think you have capacity. So what happens then when we have another overflow, the town gets fined, the town says, we have a report from GHD that says there's capacity. So that's the concern from a reviewer's point of view, because we've already seen the plant overflow and it had permit violations. So whether it's 1 gallon or 10,000 gallons from a capacity, you probably, whether it's GHD, you're not going to get a recommendation, I would think, from any consultant that's going to say, yeah, let's add more flow, even though we know that we're overflowing, because it then puts a liability on the consultants. It's too much of a risk. Now, with that being said, I understand and I appreciate the effort and the work that's gone into these projects. Keep in mind that you already have 200,000 gallons committed to the town of Wareham does, to other sources. So if we had a repeat situation like we had in March of 2018, 2015, multiple times last year, imagine that condition with an additional 200,000 gallons per day on top of it. It's really, it's bursting at the seams. And I'm just, I'm sorry, go ahead, Sandy.
Scary.
It is. I'm not trying to be a monkey wrench. I'm not trying to slow things down. And I do appreciate everyone's applications, but that is the basis of facts. Now we get into, whether DEP says, yes, you have to accommodate a 40B, but then you have EPA that says, well, we don't care what you put in, you got to meet a permit. It's welcome to conflicting regulatory agencies. That's what we put up with on a daily basis. And that alone is challenging. But again, it goes back, I would think that after this assessment, this impact analysis is looked at, whether it's a 40B or whatever the flow is, the pipes and pump stations, we have all that information. I believe it's public information. It's been submitted to WPCF. I would recommend that the applicant for this project look at that, because it's the same sewer system, but they're going to see there's room there. It really comes down to the problems that we're having, the capacity issues at the plant. Thank you.
Sandy?
What does this do with the Littleton Drive project? Does this now read what we can do there by taking, if we allow this project, what does it do to Littleton Drive? I just want to keep in mind to be asked by the redevelopment authority to hook up Littleton Drive.
I'm nervous about Littleton Drive.
Somebody needs to tell the town we don't have capacity anymore. I thought.
Yes, I agree. I don't know how to tell them. Nice.
Well, if I can add, one of the projects we're working on is that plant evaluation. A part of that is to come up with a very, a detailed memorandum or document that outlines these. I know we presented it, the presentations and Board of Selectmen, but as part of that plant evaluation, that's in our scope of work. And that will be an engineered document that clearly states out the current state of the plant. We may discover something different with the flows, but based on all the information I've seen and what I know of the plant now, that's the summary of what's happening.
Mr. Chairman, I just sent Russ over the last, we do it yearly, a rolling flow to the plant. And we thought maybe with COVID that we'd have less flow, and it's not the case. It's simply not the case.
And keep in mind, it's been dry too. We haven't had the groundwater.
So we've been lucky there.
Yes, but the flows haven't been significantly lower. They're lower, but not significantly that we would have expected. So that's why I had talked to Russ, and we talked about the planning he's doing. But I would suggest at the time that it may be time for moratorium. But I think after that, the total evaluation, what they're working on now, maybe we can get some hard answers, put it in writing, submit it to a moratorium until we can figure things out. But that's where we are with it. So.
On that particular issue, I think we probably have a little more in-depth discussion at our next meeting regarding moratorium and give everybody a chance to find out a little bit more about what's going on. Is that reasonable with you?
Reasonable with me, but it's the board's decision. You guys decide.
I understand that, but
I think you're right. I think we need to do more research, more discussion.
Yeah.
Make sure that we're tight, because we got commitments out there. We can't stop those commitments. They're moving, and I think we need to be careful moving forward, real careful.
Yep.
So, I think you're right.
I agree. I turn the spigot off now, but we can't do that.
No. N-O.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, for the individual, the project concerned right now is they need to continue on and at least go through the motions and see what they come back with, and they come back to us. In the meantime, we'll have hopefully a little bit better idea.
Hey, Brian, if you want to stop by, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I was going to say, Brian, if you want to stop by, have that report, you're welcome to look at it. We can talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow, maybe, Guy, and we'll figure out what I need to provide you folks.
Yes, absolutely. I've got the report. I think that's important that you read it. So stop by, we'll go over the report, and then we can figure out, where we're going from here.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right,
Okay,
very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Discussion of a plant engineer. And before we go any further, I'm going to ask, throw this ball in Russ's court, even though it shouldn't be there. And what's he think of the idea?
I think it's warranted, especially if you start the number of projects we're talking about. A lot of towns, they have project managers. They have what they, project managers, project engineers, and they generally deal with the capital improvement projects. I found an example of an ad for the town of Barnstable, and it can be discussed, if that engineer is specifically for the treatment plant, if there's enough projects, but it can also be used for other projects around town, depending on the workload. But it is very, especially with a lot of projects, it takes a tremendous workload off of Guy or whatever department they're working for. So it's a valuable position for sure.
Would that translate into potentially lowering our outside contractor costs?
Potentially for certain things, and let me give you a few examples. With all these connections we're talking about, once the town has a model developed, they wouldn't have to hire a consultant. They could have their in-house engineer. Now, keep in mind, they also have to purchase or lease the software, which to lease it is not a huge expense. But yeah, I think the Woodland Cove, even though the developer paid for it, I think that was like a $9,000 fee for that. And, they could probably look at things like that. It wouldn't, from a full design aspect, a single engineer probably would not be able to put together detailed design plans for complex projects. But maybe for smaller projects they would. But yes, there is a potential it could reduce the outside contractors.
And Mr. Chairman, he could also do conceptuals, and then he could put it out to bid because he has procurement knowledge. He also could take our capital improvement plan. That's, we talked about $100 million. He can dissect that. He can set up an actual budgeting process for that, prioritize it, do some conceptual planning, and then put it out to bid. He can also do budgeting, through the contract. He can do budgeting, cost analysis, comparative prices. He would offer more to us than we could get from a business manager. Because he would have all the expertise from a business manager for the projects and the funds of the enterprise, but he'd also bring another whole set of skills as to know wastewater, to know the laws of wastewater through DEP, EPA. He'd have all that knowledge. He'd be certified. He'd be, all the different things we're looking for. And I think he could save us money on a lot of conceptual things. And he can move a lot of things forward. And also in the project management of some of these projects, he worked in conjunction with the engineers, and I think they could come in at a really great price, and everybody can get the work done. And keep in mind that the engineer is not a catch-all. He doesn't know everybody's trade. He just knows, generally speaking, wastewater. But I think he's a really integral part of our system. I think it's something we need to do sooner than later, in my opinion.
Sandy, any comments on that?
What's the cost?
Well, this advertisement at $84,000 a year.
And what? I'm sorry. I thought Derek did all the hiring. Is Derek?
He does do the hiring. We're not hiring. We're recommending.
Recommending.
And what about our person in charge of human resources? What does she think?
We didn't talk to her. I brought this up to Derek, and Derek said it's a good idea. In the interim, we brought in Tom Garino to help us with projects. And so I run this by Derek before I even mentioned it. So what I am hoping the board agrees that it's a good idea. We can make a recommendation, and I'll send it back to Derek. I'll send a job description so he can work with Doreen and put something hard that meets Wareham's qualifications, and we can make sure that meets it, and I like to get it out. That's the goal.
I would like to have Doreen's input before I vote on this.
comment?
Go ahead, Peter.
It sounds like a good idea, but I really would be more comfortable if the entire board were present when we make a recommendation. I would very much like Mac's input.
Okay. All right. Matt couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah, that's why I just assumed if you could table this until we can get everybody together to kick this around. I mean, I can see the positive things, but some of these projects that we're talking about, okay, we can take care of all of the in-house stuff, but if they keep throwing these 40B projects and stuff like that, I think we've really got to get our situation straight with the EPA and also figure out whether or not we're ever going to get to the canal, which somehow seems like a pipe dream, but we've got to start thinking about groundwater discharge and you know, get on top of that, because if they keep throwing these 40B projects at us and we don't have any options, we've got to have some other place to go besides the Agawam River.
We were thinking of moving the 40B projects to Middleborough.
Now, all of that is fine and well and good, and I totally agree with it. I mean, I'd love to tell them, stop it. You know, this is literally a case when you can tell them, what do you want us to do, pee up a pole?
Huh. Okay, that's a good idea. We'll kind of table this. I think we're in favor of the idea, but we'll table this till we can
I'm
get
in favor of the idea, but I would really like everybody's input.
Yeah.
And I would like Doreen's input
Okay,
on
well,
the requirement being suggested.
okay, we'll talk to Doreen too. Okay, anything further? Sandy, are you willing to do double duty tonight?
Not yet.
Okay, just have to,
I'm
I
concerned,
make
right,
a motion.
wait a minute, hold it, Peter. Go ahead, Sandy.
I'm concerned that we indicate that our meetings on the first and third Thursday and the school board's on the second and fourth, but Steve got the school board tonight with us. I need to ensure that we are committed to have the first and third, and school board has to stay to the second and fourth. I don't know who you contact, but Steve can't manage of these calls on the same.
Okay, well, we'll talk to Derek, because Derek was the one that wanted the movements.
What movements?
Well, that was a room movement.
Well, yeah, but we published
And
our, as the first and third all the way through the month of October.
I believe, yes, and I believe that was published around the school committees. Wait a minute, it was
Yeah, no,
the room assignments was done around them.
yeah, the room,
But not the date.
but we can't have Steve support us and the school board on the same night. It has to be.
I understand. That's why we postponed the last time.
Yeah, it's not fair
But
to have.
I did not realize that the school committee had hopped back into this mix.
Mr. Chairman, we'll get the schedule of the school committee because theirs out. Then we'll make our schedule and we'll confer with the school committee that this is etched in stone, and we'll tell Steve, everybody involved, that once we all decide what we're going to do, this is the way it's going to happen, and keep Steve
But
on.
on the town website, it has the school second and fourth, and we're first and third. Keep in mind, don't do the first and third. I've got conflicts on the second and fourth Thursdays. So I don't know who you go to the school board and say, what are your dates for the next 6 months? Can you keep it?
School committee. Now, who sets the meetings? School committee chairman sets the meetings. That's who you should talk to. As a board member, call their board, talk to their chairman, say, hey, listen, we got to straighten this out. What's good for you? What are you working? And we kind of have a conflict. We said the 1 and 3. You said 2 and 4. We got to stick to it. So I would say it's a board-to-board discussion. And if it can't resolve board to board, then you take it to maybe Derek. But right now, I think it's a board-to-board discussion.
And maybe Jimmy, will you do that?
Yep, I'm making a note right now. Okay, will do. Who's the school
Okay.
committee- Who's the school committee chairman?
It's about to change.
Oh, okay.
On
Never mind.
we have our next meeting on July 16th, so whoever puts it together, can you, what is this? Why do I,
I don't know, I'm getting it too, so go ahead.
can you make sure that our agenda for the next meeting, the selection of chair, vice chair, and clerk at the start of the new year?
So you're saying election of officers or whatever. That's what you're saying
Right.
next meeting?
Or just, but we need to have it on the meeting in July.
Gotcha. No problem.
You ready?
Everybody,
Adjourn.
everybody set? Sandy's
Yeah,
taking
I'm
on,
set.
Sandy's
make a
getting a new hat. She's doing double duty, so be prepared.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we adjourn at 7:40.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.